Kindly let me know when we are good to go.
Yeah. Okay, now work. Just 1 minute.
Sure.
Now we go live. You are live.
All right, wonderful. That's great to go. So I think we are good to go then.
Yeah.
All right, sure. So shall I begin on my end then?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so hello everyone, the participants who are joining us live right now. First of all, I would like to share my warm thanks and regards to International Internship University for inviting me on board to deliver this session today. Just give me 1 second, okay? Just 1 second. Yes. Like I was saying, that first of all, a very warm thanks to International Internship University for inviting me on board today to deliver this session for the members, the participants, all the brilliant audiences around the world of this particular platform who are listening to us right now as well. I hope you all are doing well, and I hope you all are enjoying your day so far as well, because we are going to be adding even more excitement, even more information, even more knowledge, and even more insight to that day. We are going to add even more positivity to that day and of your journey of learning how to unlock your potential as well, because that is what we are going to be discussing about in today's session. So to introduce myself, my name is Yash Tiwari. I'm a global youth mentor, a mental health awareness advocate, a public speaker, and a motivational speaker, having delivered 6 TED Talks at the globally renowned platform of TEDx, 3 Josh Talks as well, one of which has amassed more than 500,000 views, and 2 of which got released very recently, which you can check out on YouTube. And apart from that, I'm also a professional writer and also a #1 best-selling author, having started my literary journey when I was just 16 years old. Now, when I was 16 years old, that is when I authored my debut novel titled A Celebration in Tribulation, which has received a lot many awards and acclaims from around the world that I'm genuinely very humbled and grateful for. After that, I authored Pandemic 2020 Rife of the Virus, which was world's first fiction novel on the COVID-19 outbreak, which I authored at the age of 18 within a record time of just 30 days. And this book of mine has set international records at the India Book of Records and the Asia Book of Records as well. And very recently, as a matter of fact, I have authored my latest novel titled Blisters of the Battle, which I do have a copy of with me as well right now. So I hope that the book is visible to all of you guys. And this book of mine, The Blisters of the Battle, as the name suggests, it is a reflection of what all is going on around the world with the wars and the battles and all the hardships that are being suffered by so many civilians in various parts of the world at the moment. And this book of mine has also ranked #1 on the Amazon best-selling charts across various categories on the very day of its release. Now, I guide, mentor, help, and even teach these aspiring individuals around the world about how to work on their public speaking skills, how to work on their literary and writing skills, but most importantly, I guide and mentor about how to unlock your latent potentials that you have within yourself. Now, when we are talking about the latent potentials, when we are talking about those innate potentials and strengths, you have to understand that we are not talking about something that you have to, dig your claws into. You are not talking about something that you have to, let's say, search a lot about or fight a lot about or be confused about. We are not talking about some strengths that you have to look out for in the external world. We are talking about all the potential, all the capacity that is right there within you. We are talking about all those locked up potential and capacity that is right there within you, within your soul, within your heart. But for some or the other reason, it is in a locked up state. It can be because of peer pressure. It can be because of the stereotypical societal ideologies. It can be because of your own anxiety or nervousness or whatever the reasons might be. Because the reasons can be I would say innumerable. The reasons can also be different for different people. But the one thing that remains same for every single person out there is the presence of those latent potentials. Especially like we have seen in the past 2 to 3 years during this COVID-19 outbreak and everything, that many of us were locked up within the four walls of our houses. We were quite perplexed by the lockdowns, by the quarantine, by the COVID-19 itself. But even within that time, when all of us were locked up within the four walls of our houses, we were doing something different, right? Many of us tried out new passions in our lives. Many of us tried to learn guitar or piano forte or exercising or writing or various other creative fields for that matter. And that was possible because you had a moment to sit down with yourself and think of all these strengths or capacities or even passions that you hold within yourself. And the same applies for all the other avenues of your life as well. All of the moments in your life are somewhat dependent on these latent potentials that are right there within you, which you generally are neither thinking about nor somebody is guiding you to unlock them as well. But today, we are going to be working upon the same because in today's session, we are going to be talking about how to unlock those latent potentials, come out of a shell of anxiety, and live, act, and work to the best of your capacities as well. Now, just give me 1 second so that I can start the presentation as well, after which we will proceed with the session. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions or even if you have any feedback about the session so far, you can keep on sharing that in our comment box as well. But just give me 1 second so that I can start the presentation. Just 1 second, participants. I hope you all are excited to learn a great deal about how to unlock those latent potentials within yourself as well. So I hope that the presentation is clearly visible to all of you right now. I hope that the presentation is visible to all the participants who have joined us live in this session today, and that you are going to get to learn a lot from the same as well. So when we are talking about unlocking those latent and hidden potentials, like I mentioned earlier, just to recapitulate and remind you, we are not talking about some potential or some capacity or some strengths that you have to search out for in the external world. We are not talking about something that you have to research about or something that you have to, dig a lot about in the external world, or that you have to run towards in the external world around you. That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about the potential, the capacities, the capabilities, and all the goodness, the positivity that you hold within yourself, that every single person holds within their own selves. Because I am a firm believer of the fact that every single person is saturated with that potential, with that capacity that can help them in realizing their true strengths as well. It is just that for most of the people, because they are not very much introspective, because they do not invest much time or effort in thinking about their own selves or their latent capacities within, they are not very much aware of these hidden potentials as well. And I think that is where the root cause of the issue also rests, that when we say that most of the people are not much self-aware, when we say especially the youngsters in today's world, in today's fast-paced, modernized and globalized world, they are not that much self-aware. The main reason is because there is this lack of introspection that we are not spreading more awareness about, that we are not pushing about, that we are not reminding our young ones about, or for that matter, any person across any generation, I will say. So the one reason, according to me, why so many people are not that much self-aware in today's modernized world, why they're simply being a part of the rat race, is because of the fact that the introspective ideology is missing. So somewhere down the line, developing that introspective ideology is also a necessity for you to be able to unlock your latent potentials and your hidden capacities. And that is what we are also going to be working upon in today's session. Because let me tell you one thing very clearly and very honestly. Whether you are a 5-year-old kid who is just joining the school, or you are an 18-year-old person who is just joining the college, or you are a 25-year-old person who is just joining a job or even starting their own business, or even if you are a 50-year-old employee working in some company, just doing your desk job, or even if you're a homemaker taking care of the household 24/7. Regardless of what your walk of life might be like, regardless of what the phase of your life might be at the moment, regardless of what age might be that you belong to, regardless of who you are as a person, if you want to thrive in the world, if you want to move ahead in the world, unlocking your latent potentials is a necessity. It is not a choice that we are talking about. If you want to thrive in today's modernized and globalized world, then unlocking your latent potentials and unlocking your hidden capacities is a necessity for you. That is why the session that we are having today, as a matter of fact, becomes even more important for every single person who is listening to us right now. Because today we are talking about something that is not just a choice for your life, but it is a necessity for you to work upon, unlocking all the latent potentials that you hold within yourself. Now, how are we going to do that? Let us take a look at that as well. So this is a theory that I have come up with in order to guide and mentor all the aspiring individuals around the world. And it depends on the eightfold path of unlocking your latent potential. What happens is that because when we are talking about such a complex subject matter, when we are talking about something as complex and as intricate as the latent potentials that you might hold within yourself, it can appear daunting. It can appear a little bit, I would say, even scary at times, because you do not have much idea about it, you do not have much clarity about it, and thus you fear a little bit about whether you will be able to understand how to unlock your potential or not. And more than that, what happens is that most of the time when people talk about a subject matter as intricate as this, there is a lot of complexity, there are a lot of jargons in the same as well, which most of the people are not even able to understand, let alone benefit from it in any way. But that complexity is not going to scare you in today's session at all, because in the simplest of terms, I am going to be presenting the eightfold path for you to understand in order to unlock your latent potentials as well. The 8 steps that you need to take, or the 8 things that you need to remember, or the 8 paths that you need to follow in order to end up with the unlocked potential that you always held within yourself. So in today's session, you will be able to unlock your latent potentials with this interesting, insightful, and also intriguing eightfold path that I have designed for you. And we are going to be talking about 8 pointers in particular, and I hope that all of you get to learn a lot from them and benefit a lot from them as well. In this eightfold path of unlocking your latent potential, the number 1 is about identifying your strengths, which means identifying the strengths that you hold within yourself. What happens is that most of the time people are caught up in the regularities of their life. And by regularities, I mean that many of you might be school going students. So you believe that you have to invest your entirety of the days, entirety of the months, entirety of the years just in focusing on the subjects that you have to prepare for a certain examination of the school. Or if you are an office going person who does this 9 to 5 desk job in their office every single day, you might be so much invested into that particular profession that you are not even thinking anything beyond that. And because of that, because of the fast-paced life in today's world as well, most of the people, especially the youngsters as we see, are not self-aware of their own strengths. They are not aware of all the potential, all the strength, all the strong points that they hold within themselves. But it so happens that if you want to unlock your latent potential and live to the best of your potential as well, then identifying your strengths is a must. And another point that so happens, which can, I would say, confuse so many individuals around the world, is the fact that strengths are unique for every person. They are not supposed to be identical, or they are not supposed to be similar, or they are not supposed to mirror for different people. What that means, just take a look at this particular example. Many a times we see, especially amongst the youngsters, that the young ones tend to choose those subjects or those educational streams in their life that their friends are also joining, or they simply follow the path that their friends are following. They simply want to stick to the path that their friends are following or their peers are following, because they feel that if the people in their surrounding belong to a certain strength, or they are strong in a certain field, then that is what they should be doing as well, because they belong to that circle, because they belong to that social circle. But the truth is that every single person's strengths are different. Every single person's uniqueness is what actually matters at the end of the day. As a matter of fact, I would like to quote something from my own life as well. I remember that when I was in my 12th standard, my 11th and 12th standard, I was studying science in my school. I was a physics, chemistry, and biology student. And at that time, of course, all of my classmates, they were also very much focused in the science stream only. They were very much focused in their academics only. And so was I as well. But at the same time, my friends and all my classmates were so much invested only and only in the subjects that they were studying in the school, whereas I was more invested in my creative pursuits. I was more invested towards my creative strengths, which were of public speaking, of storytelling, of writing, of literature, and all those creative fields. Now, the fact of matter over here is that I was aware of the fact that every single person's strengths are different. So if I know that I have strengths in a different field in comparison to others, I have to acknowledge that. I have to respect that. I have to tap upon that, and I have to channel that to the best of my ability and potential as well. And the same goes for every single person out there as well who is listening to us right now. If you genuinely want to unlock your latent potential, you have to firmly be a believer of the fact that yes, you can belong to a family, you can belong to a group of friends, you can belong to a circle, but in that circle where there are so many people, your strengths can be unique and they can be different in comparison to others. What matters is that when you identify that uniqueness in your strengths, try to utilize it to the best of your potential as well to unlock that latent potential. So the first point of the eightfold path is that of identifying your strengths. But what is the second step? Let us take a look at that as well. The second step is of identifying the weaknesses. Now, what happens is that, and this happens for most of the people, I would say, in fact, for all the people, perhaps I can say, that when you are aware of your strengths, you tend to not look at your weaknesses at all. But that is also wrong, because you have to understand what you are lacking or what your weak points are in order to work upon them, in order to improve upon them, and in order to overcome the weaknesses in your life. Think about it this way. When you exercise, when you work out, whether you are working out in a gym or you are working out with a pair of dumbbell at your home itself, wherever you might be exercising or working out, during that workout, you're working on various parts of your body, right? One day you are working on the shoulders and the triceps. The other day you might be working on your chest and the biceps. The other day you might be working on your legs and your abs. Just a hypothetical example. Now, what happens is that when you are working on the different parts of your body, during that course, you might feel that even though you have the strength or you are stronger when you're working out on your biceps and your triceps, I mean, your arms are strong, but whenever you work out on your shoulders, you feel weak. You feel a little bit lacking the potential to work out properly. Now, what is the better course of action in that situation? That you forget about all the weakness that you have of the shoulders, and just because you are not able to work properly when it comes to the shoulders, you do not work it out at all. You just forget about the weakness and you only and only work out what you are strong at. Or would it be better to, of course, focus on expanding your strengths, enhancing your strengths, but at the same time, whatever your weak points might be, in this example, the shoulder exercises, you try to slowly and gradually work on that and improve upon that as well. Of course, the latter one, right? The latter one, of course, is the right course of action, because When you know what your strengths are, of course, that will help you in growing. But when you know what your weaknesses are, and you are able to work upon that as well, you are able to discipline yourself in order to overcome that weakness by working out properly. And by workout, we are not just talking about physical exercise, but we are talking about all the activities of your life where you might feel a little bit weak. When you are able to do that as well, alongside enhancing and increasing your strengths, that is when you are actually living to the best of your potential. And sometimes the weaknesses are simply about the lack of discipline in your life as well. So, all in all, you have to identify what your weaknesses are alongside identifying what your strengths are. Because the strengths that you find out and the more that you increase them, the greater will be the opportunities in your life as well. And at the same time, the more weaknesses that you point out and identify, and the less that you diminish them to be, the more that you diminish these weaknesses to be in your life, the amount of weaknesses that you are able to overcome in your life, that will determine how wonderfully you are able to overcome all the threats in your life as well. So in order to enhance the opportunities in your life, work on increasing the strengths, of course, by identifying them in the first place. And in order to eliminate the threats in your life, work on diminishing the weaknesses in your life as well, which of course does require for you to identify, acknowledge, and work upon the weaknesses as well. So the first 2 points of the eightfold path of unlocking your latent potential is that of identifying your strength and identifying your weakness as well. Now, the third point of the eightfold path of unlocking your latent potential is of realizing your passion. Now, there is a difference between the passion and the strengths. You have to understand that. I would say that the strengths are more or less dependent on your passions, but at the same time, passions hold their own unique position, especially when it comes to your latent potentials. How is that? Let us take a look at that. Think about it this way. Many of you might be in a certain walk of your life at the moment. Many of you might be doing desk jobs. Many of you might be doing, work in a certain profession. But even during that course, you might have a tingling, an inclination to do something different, to do something even more creative, to do something even more passionate in your life. An activity, a career, something in your life that you have a greater calling or a greater passion for. Like I was saying earlier, that in the past 2 to 3 years of the COVID-19 outbreak, we have seen this happening to a greater degree, haven't we? During the course when all of the people were locked up within the four walls of their houses, they were experimenting on various activities in their life, whether it was about trying out the guitar, or it was about the piano forte, or it was about exercising, or it was about even the habit of cooking, or various other passions that many people were able to realize. But the fact of the matter over here is that people were able to realize their passions. And this is something which is supposed to continue as we walk further as well. Because it so happens that unlocking those latent potentials to a large degree depends upon your passions as well. You have to ascertain what your passions are in order to deliver them in your life as well, in order to work upon them in your life as well, and thus live to the best of your potential too. Like, for example, even if you belong to a certain profession, does not mean that you are not allowed to, or you do not have the opportunity to pursue all the creative passions in your life as well. Just because you might be doing a desk job does not mean that the passion which you have for playing a guitar or working out has to stay repressed in your life. That is not the case at all. Because even when you have work obligations or academic obligations, you still can do the best that you possibly can in the field of your passions as well. It is just that you have to realize that, first of all, allow yourself to try them out, allow yourself to act in the fields of your passion as well, because that is where you will be able to realize the unlimited amount of capacity to do the greatest that you have within yourself, and of course be able to unlock your potentials as well. So the third point of the eightfold path of unlocking your latent potential is about realizing your passion and then allowing yourself to experience and to work out in those fields of passions as well. But the fourth point of the Eightfold Noble Path of unlocking your latent potential is understanding the true definition of success. So, whenever I'm being interviewed by various platforms around the world, I'm often asked by the question that how do I define success to be at a young age? I authored my debut novel when I was just 16 years old, which received a lot many awards and acclaims around the world. And that was the time when I delivered my first TED Talk as well. And since then, I have also authored a best-selling novel, and I guide and mentor audiences around the world in various countries, even at a young age. And whenever I'm asked about what do I define success to be as, I have a very clear and a very truthful definition about it, something that I live by and I remember in my heart always. And this is also a definition, as a matter of fact, two definitions of success, which I inspired the global audiences about with as well. I always preach about these two definitions of success whenever I'm being interviewed or being asked about the same, for sure. So, what are those two definitions? Let us take a look at them because they will most certainly help you in unlocking your latent potentials even to a greater degree in your life. The first definition is that of understanding that your success should not leave you satisfied in any manner. And that is something which I truly believe in. Success should be something which should leave you ambitious, which should leave you passionate for more. Like, for example, whenever I do something or whenever I succeed in a certain field, I'm always thinking about, okay, what is the next big thing that I want to do? What is the next bigger goal or aim that I want to achieve? What is the next higher pedestal that I want to reach out to? How do I reach out to that next higher pedestal as well in order to impact and inspire the global audiences to a greater degree as well? I'm always focused on what is the next big positive thing that I am supposed to do, that I am passionate to do as well. And the same should be with you as well in your life when it comes to the success and the point of. You have to remember that success should be something which should not just leave you satisfied. Of course, success should give you joy. Success is supposed to give joy as well. And at the same time, it is supposed to make one passionate and ambitious about greater ideas and the greater heights in life as well. That is always the case with me. I'm always thinking about and focusing on how to grow higher. What is the next big and greater and higher pedestal that I want to reach out to? And then even beyond that, where do I want to reach out in my life? Higher and higher, and keep on flying higher for that matter. And the same you should remember as well for your life in this particular regards. Always have that ambition to grow bigger and to go higher as well. And the second definition, which I want you to remember, is that your success should have a positive impact on the people around you as well. You have to remember that your success is supposed to be something which leaves a bright smile and which also creates a positive impact on perhaps the family that you belong to, your friends that you're connected with, your society, your community, even the country that you belong to, or the entire world for that matter. You have to remember this as a matter of fact that whatever you are doing, whichever field you are achieving something in, it should have a positive impact on the society and on the world as well. So these are the definitions which you do need to remember as the true definitions of success, which is most certainly the fourth point of unlocking your latent potentials and the eightfold path, which helps you in unlocking your latent potentials as well. The fifth point in the, I would say, eightfold path of unlocking your latent potential is that of the communication skills or being able to communicate. Now, how to improve your communication skills or build up your public speaking skills is something that I professionally guide and mentor the aspiring individuals about around the world. So this is something which, if you need detailed guidance, you can reach out to me as well for masterclasses as such. And you can check out my talks as well on the same topic on the YouTube, where you will be able to learn in even more detail. But to sum it all up, what happens is that whenever I'm addressing, especially a gathering of young ones or youngsters, they often ask me about the fact that how do we enhance our communication skills as well? How do we improve our communication skills as well? And my answer always remains the same for this. In today's world, communication skills, like I was talking about unlocking your latent potentials, communication skills are not a choice. They are becoming a necessity. In every avenue of your life, in every walk of your life, in every phase of your life, you need to have proper communication skills. From a certain college admission interview that you have to give in order to go to your dream college, to a certain job interview that you have to give in order to get a reliable job, from a certain business that you might be starting where you need proper audience that you need to market your goods to perhaps even being in good relations and terms with your family members, with your kids, with your parents, or whatever the terms might be. The communication skills are essential in all walks of life, for all age groups, for every single person around the world. And it so happens that even when the communication skills are perhaps one of the most important skills that you need, these are also the skills that are missing in most of the people to the most of degree as well. The greatest of degree, we see that the communication skills are one which are missing in majority of the people, whereas these are also the most important skills that every single person requires. So now comes the question that how do we work upon enhancing our communication skills, or how do we work upon increasing or developing those public speaking skills as well? Now, if I start teaching you and guiding you about how to develop those public speaking skills, trust me, we will have like 2 or 3 more hours of session right now, which is why I will just give a brief overview of a mantra or a rule which I personally guide and mentor aspiring public speakers around the world with, across various countries, and as a matter of fact, people from various languages as well, who speak various languages. They all still get to benefit from this particular mantra of the rule of 5C, as I like to call it. The rule of 5C that I have developed helps every single person from a basic level to even an advanced level person in developing those communication skills that are much needed for every single individual out there in the world. And these 5Cs are, as a matter of fact, 5 words which start with the letter C, the alphabet C. Like we see that communication is a word which starts with the alphabet C, right? Just like that, your communication skills are, as a matter of fact, standing upon 5 pillars, which are 5 C's, as I like to call them, in the rule of 5C. And what are those 5 C's? Let us take a look at them. And the easier way to remember these 5 C's is simply looking at the 5 fingers of your hand. There are generally 5 fingers in your hand, right? There are 5 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like that, you have to remember the 5 C's on your 5 fingers as well. What are these 5 C's of your communication skills in order to develop and enhance them? Let us take a look at them. Content, clarity, creativity, connectivity, and confidence. 5 C's: content, clarity, creativity, connectivity, and confidence. There are 5 C's, 5 pillars of communication, and 5 words that you have to remember in order to develop your communication skills as well. Because when these 5 C's are combined, a fist is formed, a strong fist. And I know this might appear to be very abstract, but remember this example because it will stay retained in your mind. When these 5 C's are mastered, and you combine these 5 C's, you have mastered all these 5 C's of communication, you will create a strong fist that can break down the greatest of walls of anxiety or obstruction or nervousness that you might be feeling has been raised around you. If you feel that whenever you are trying to talk with people, a wall of anxiety or nervousness or introversion or tension has been raised around you, then I can assure you that with the rule of 5C, when you have mastered these 5 terms, the content, the clarity, the creativity, the connectivity, and the confidence, you will be able to create this strong fist that will break down the greatest of barriers of anxiety or introversion that you might be feeling while communicating. Now, let us take a deeper look at these 5 C's as well in order to understand them better. First of all comes the content. You have to make sure that what you are speaking is something that you personally connect and relate with, and that your audience gets to connect and relate with as well. You have to strike a chord You have to resonate with your audience, which is why working on your content, first of all, working on what you are speaking exactly has to be perfected. So firstly, focus on improving and enhancing the content that you are speaking. Now, on second number comes the clarity. What is the clarity exactly? Clarity is basically the pronunciation that we are talking about, the clarity and the understandability of every single word that you are speaking. Think about it this way. Many of your friends might speak in such pretentious accents that are not understandable by any person who is listening to them, right? Perhaps even you for that matter. Now, tell me one thing very honestly. Are those pretentious accents better, which are not even understandable by any person? Or is a clarity of voice much better in comparison? Of course, the clarity of voice is what you should be seeking forward, and the clarity of voice is what you should be working on as well, because the audience might not remember a pretentious accent for that matter, but they will most certainly remember where they were able to understand clearly every single word that you were saying. So the clarity of your voice and your words is very essential, and it stands as the second point of the rule of 5C. The third point of the rule of 5C is that of creativity, which simply refers to the fact that just because you have copy pasted some content from some search engine does not mean that you should deliver it right away in that manner only, without adding any personal touch or any personal voice in it. Make sure that whenever you are interacting in any situation for that matter, whether it is a formal presentation in front of your boss or your colleagues or whatever the formal situation might be, or it is an informal situation where you are interacting, let's say with some of your friends in a social gathering, in a party, or wherever the communication might be happening, you have to make sure that you are presenting a unique voice. You have to make sure that you are being creative in what you are saying. That creativity simply comes from the fact that you are presenting your own personal opinions, your own personal perspectives as well, and not just copying another person for that matter. Now, after developing that creativity in your speaking, the fourth C is that of connectivity. Connectivity is very essential if you want to communicate with the best of the ability with your audience, because you need to connect with the audience and you want the audience to feel that they are very much connected with you as well when you are speaking. And the connectivity simply depends on looking into the eyes of your listeners when you're speaking with them, not looking in the sky or looking on the ground because you are anxious while speaking. Rather, looking straight into the eyes, maintaining that eye contact with your audience as well. Secondly, having a strong body language as well, not slouching while you are speaking, but standing straight, being direct, and properly even walking if there is room for it, with confidence in your body language, because your body language connects and communicates as much as you speak with your audience verbally. So the connectivity stands to a great degree on that body language as well. And of course, the relatability is also very essential, where you are speaking about things that the audience actually is able to relate with as well. And last but not the least, in the rule of 5C comes the point of confidence. Now, confidence is in some ways the king of all these pointers, because the more confident you are in speaking what you are sharing, the more confidence the audience will feel in you and your content as well. And that confidence is only developed where you have properly prepared your content, you have researched properly about it, you are speaking about something that you genuinely have proper knowledge of, and most importantly, you are speaking from your heart as well. So these 5 C's are essential for you to develop your communication skills, which, as a matter of fact, in today's globalized and modernized and connected world, is an essential factor for you to be able to unlock your latent potentials as well. Now, after unlocking your latent potentials with the fifth point of being able to communicate properly, the next point in the eightfold path of unlocking your latent potential, or the sixth point, is that of developing curiosity. Now, curiosity is something which I see missing so much, especially in the youngsters in today's world. We see that the youngsters, for the most of degree, are not much curious about the world for that matter. They are very much caught up within the four walls of, their work or their education, or simply what they consider to be their household, and that is that. Beyond that, there is not a curiosity about what more they can do, what better they can do, how much or how further they can develop or grow. Now, that curiosity, my friends, is essential for you to unlock your latent potentials, but for you to even live to your latest potentials as well. Because, see, what happens is that when we are talking about unlocking your latent potentials, we are talking about a great deal of introspection as well, right? We are talking about researching more on your inner strengths. We are talking about researching more on your inner weaknesses in order to minimize them and, of course, develop your strengths further. We are talking about working on realizing your latent passions as well. We are talking about developing or understanding the ways to develop your communication skills as well. So much more we have discussed about. But all of that requires a certain degree of curiosity. You have to be curious of the fact that whatever you are speaking, whatever you are trying to speak about, whatever you are researching about, you genuinely want to learn more of it. You genuinely want to communicate more about it. You genuinely want to go further than where you are right now in a positive direction. So that curiosity as a matter of fact, essential for you to be able to develop your latent potentials, your strengths, your capacities, your capabilities as well. Because the more curious you are about all the ways in which you can enhance and improve yourself, the better and the greater you will be able to develop those strengths and realize those passions that you hold within yourself as well. And thus, of course, unlock your latent capacities in the process too. Now, the seventh point in the eightfold path of unlocking your latent potentials is that of developing consistency. Now, this is something which is missing not just in the youngsters, I would say, in this example, but most of the people. Majority of the people lack the consistency that is required in order to unlock the latent potentials and grow those latent potentials further. Think about it this way, and many of you might have even experienced this in your life. Perhaps on the very first day of the year, you decide that this year you want to grow a good physique. You want to work on your health. You want to work on your well being. You want to work on your physique. Perhaps you want to trim down some weight, or you want to, gain some muscle mass, or whatever your physical goal might be, or your health goal might be. And with those health goals, what you do is that you take the membership of certain gym, and on the very first day of the year, you go to the gym with your greatest of energy and your greatest of passion. You hit all these equipments, you work out to the best of your ability, and you do the best as well. Now, on the second day, when you are supposed to go to the gym, you feel a little bit tired. So you decide that, maybe you will go tomorrow. The just not going to gym one day will not harm you at all, which is fine. But then on the third day of the year, once again, the same thing happens. You feel tired, and then you even start procrastinating about whether you even need to exercise or not. And on the fourth day, you are just too reluctant to exercise at all. And by the fifth day, you have even forgotten about the goal that you had set for yourself to grow up your physique, to develop your health. Now, this was just an example in regards to your health or your, I would say, physical well-being. But the same example applies in all the other avenues in your life as well. Whether it is about mastering a certain subject that you have left pending for a very long time, or a certain script that you are yet to complete, or a certain project that is still pending to be worked upon from your side. What matters is that when you start working on a certain project, even if that project is your own self, even if that project that you are willing to work upon, that you are willing to develop and grow in the best of the degree is your own self, even if you're just talking about working on developing your own strengths and your own greatness to the best of your degree, even with that, the consistency has to be maintained. You have to consistently put in the effort in order to develop your strengths as well. It shouldn't be something that you're doing today, then tomorrow you are a little bit lightheaded about it. And then by day after tomorrow, you are not even bothered of it at all. You have to work on growing yourself. You have to work on developing yourself every single day consistently. Because when you consistently work on the same, that is when you reap the reward of success as well. So the consistency is very much required for you to be able to unlock your latent potentials and capacities as well. And now, last but not the least, the eighth point in the eightfold noble path of unlocking your latent potentials is that of the optimistic mindset. The optimistic mindset is necessary for you to be able to develop your personal as well as your worldly latent potentials. Because you need to have an optimistic mind at every single moment. You need to look on the brighter side of the things. You need to look on the brighter end of the spectrum. And I know many of you might be thinking that optimism is not the vaccine to every disease or every problem that you might be facing, right? That can be the case, but I can assure you that even if optimism is not the vaccine or the cure to all of your problems, it certainly acts as the booster. It most certainly acts as the booster, which helps you in running further in the dark end that you might be caught up in right now, the dark tunnel that you might be caught up in right now, I mean, and reach the bright end. If you feel that you are caught up in a dark tunnel in your life right now, then I can assure you that with an optimistic mindset, the moment you develop an optimistic mindset, you will be able to run through that dark tunnel as well and reach the bright end in your life, the bright gate in your life that is all about the greatness. So that optimistic mindset is also very much required for you to be able to work on any number of things that you might have mentioned about so far, whether it is about your strengths or diminishing your weaknesses, or about your passions that you have to realize and work upon, or even your communication skills, or the curiosity that you have to develop, or that consistency that we talked about, anything else that we might have mentioned. The optimistic mindset is an additional factor that is very much necessary with all of it as well. So developing the optimistic mindset is also very much necessary for you to work upon, for you to be able to unlock your latent potentials as well. And this is what the Noble Eightfold Path of unlocking your latent potentials was all about. And if you would like to learn more and even connect with me, then you can reach out on Yash Tiwari at Yash Tiwari Speaks and on www.yashtiwari.org as well. I will be more than happy to connect with you, guide you, help you, and even if you have any questions in your mind about unlocking your latent potentials, your strengths, or anything else at all, you can freely reach out to me. I will be more than happy to connect and guide you and have a conversation with you as well. And all in all, I hope that you had a good time and learned a lot in today's session, where we talked about unlocking your latent potentials and even realizing your true strengths that you hold within in order to live to the best of your capacity and capabilities as well. And all in all, I would also like to thank once again the International Internship University for inviting me on board to deliver this session to the global audiences and guide them and inspire and mentor them about unlocking their latent potentials as well. Thank you so much.